Good evening. Just wanted to go over something that will be perhaps relevant to people who have children on children's benefits. And when I'm referring to children's benefits, I mean those that derive from a parent's work record when a parent is collecting Social Security, disability, or retirement, or what have you. Or I suppose even survivor if the parent has passed. When the child is approaching 18, the SSA generally sends you a form to fill out called a 1372. So if you're going to look it up, it's SSA-1372. You can get it from the ssa.gov website. Okay. It is this one where they're notifying you, giving you advance notice of the fact that the child's benefits are going to be terminated. They tell you in kind of bold letters on the front page that while they're going to automatically stop at the age of 18, they won't if, and there's two bulleted points. You are a full-time student still at an elementary or secondary school. And that means a secondary school being one of which is at or below high school level. So it does not include any kind of college level. Or you qualify for childhood disability benefits. Now with the first one, generally that would entail when someone turns 18 their senior year or something like that, they're going to get to continue their benefits a little bit longer into age 19 even, or at 19. But I'm not going to go into that on this. This little share here is more for the disabled child who was receiving those child-dependent benefits on a parent's record because they were a child, not because they were disabled. And the SSA, it being none of their business when they were a child, whether they were disabled or not, for the program they were on, doesn't know if they were disabled. So here's your opportunity to say, hey, my child is disabled, or the child at 18, if he or she is able to do this, can do it themselves. I'm 18, I am disabled, I am under the age of 22, so I would be eligible for the DAC benefit, DAC, Disabled Adult Child Benefit, based on the same parent that provided a work record for that benefit to be paid when the child was a minor, but not even known to be disabled. Okay, so now keep in mind, some people get on DAC because they become provably disabled after the age of 18, but before the age of 22, and they were never on a parent's record getting a benefit before. This could be because a parent never was eligible for SS and never passed. And so this never would have come up for a lot of people who will nonetheless be possibly fighting for DAC benefits because they were disabled, but they couldn't get a benefit before age 18. Once they're 18, they can potentially get a DAC benefit on a parent's work record, either at that time if the parents are already collecting or deceased, or 20, 30 years later. And I have some playlists on that. So if you have someone who might be eligible for a DAC benefit, and sometimes it's someone who's, you learn about this when the person's 25 and be like, oh, wait, I think we can prove the person was disabled before age 22. Make sure you preserve those records. Go get them now if that's the case, because sometimes they just disappear, get deleted. Providers say we don't keep them after 7 years, whatever. Preserve, right? Okay, so going back to this form. When you get this form, it really tells you what to do. You're basically going to be contacting the SSA. Well, if it's about the school, being in school, they have pages for that you can take to your school to confirm that you're still in school. So that's kind of easy. The school's going to do it for you, no problem. If it's the disability for the DAC, now you have to prove that the child is disabled. If the child was filing for disability normally in the normal scheme of things as an adult, it's something called the SSA-3368. In this form, they don't actually mention that form. They just say, contact us, meaning the Social Security office, your local one, with the following information. A history of the disabling condition, including names and addresses of medical record sources. That would be all treating providers. I would go past and present, such as doctors and hospitals and schools attended, because schools are a great source of disability information for young adults who are disabled prior to becoming an adult. If you have worked, you must also furnish your work history. And they also, of course, are going to want your social security number, the child's, of course, and probably the parent who is going to be the payor, although they already have that if the child is already receiving. Now, while it doesn't mention the SSA-3368 form on here, at least not what I'm reading, you can download that, and that's gonna tell you exactly when you get to the part where you put in the medical pages, the pages for each provider. That will be a good guide for you of what information to provide. If you had that all filled out and then you had your appointment or you called SSA to get those childhood benefits not terminated due to age of 18 and instead converted to this disability benefit, this will help you. You can put them on that SSA 3368 and you can read off of it. So you have a nice, all the information kind of organized. You don't have to try to guess at what you need to put on there. If you don't have all the information, all those extra details, just make sure at least that you have the names and addresses of all those medical providers, because those are going to be the sources of the medical records. That would be doctors, hospitals, physical therapy offices. You don't really have to give radiology locations, pharmacies. I'm trying to think what else. But if it's a place where you do get, say, pain management treatment, like injections or anything like that, for sure, I would include that. And they want the schools that were attended, because this is a young person who just came out of school, you know, arguably. Pardon that dog, he's barking in the background, highly annoying. Anyway, SSA 1372. You can, if you're going on the school avenue and not the child is disabled avenue, but just that he has a few more months of being in school, so you want to get those benefit months, you could download this and probably take this, it'd be like the second page of 7, and fill it out already with the school information and start the ball rolling of getting the confirmation from the school, perhaps. But this is the form where what they're gonna end up sending to you. And here, if you download it, you're going to have it a little in advance and you can review it without rushing. Okay. I mean, they do give it to you in advance, but whether it's advanced enough, you know, might be a different story. So I hope that helps. This actually came up today because precisely this, there was a child on a survivor benefit. He is now approaching 18 and he's been notified that he's going to be terminated and he is severely disabled under the rules, and it wasn't really a big question. Unlike some disabled children turning into adults that it's going to take a battle to prove that they're disabled, this one is more of a listing level, and it was just a matter of paperwork. So anyway, that's the form you need. You know, no reason to wait until the last minute to get it done or get familiar with it. Okay, but it will totally help you. And having that medical information for the children the child that continues to be disabled, and it wasn't anything that was provable before because it was not a disability case, it was a child dependency case. You could take your time if you just go get this form and download it and get started. You know, you don't have to wait for them to send it to you. You know it's going to be coming. Okay, and gosh forbid they send it to you and it gets lost in the mail. Now you know where to get it, because if it gets lost in the mail, you don't send it back, you will be terminated. Okay, they'll probably reach out and say, where is it? Do you have anything? Perhaps not. Yeah, so get started on it. All right. If you don't get it, you can also call them and say, I didn't get it. And you can either download it and do it or ask them to send you another one. But with mail being so unreliable these days, you might just want to take the bull by the horns on this one. Okay. Particularly if your household needs that income, because remember, that was a survivor income and that child's disabled. So if that money is going to be needed to keep everything afloat, you want to stay on top of it, right? All righty. Take care, guys.